everyone, and welcome to episode 547 of the MTGGoldfish podcast. I'm Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we have this small crew here this week. Richard, out on the road this week, couldn't make it, but we're joined by Crim. Good morning, Crim. How's it going today?
Morning. I'm pretty excited. Lots of things have happened over the last week or so. Lots of standard shakeups, and yeah.
I feel like that's true every week now. I feel like every week a lot happens in Magic.
Yeah.
There's never a week that goes by without something happening. But this week, we're going to talk new standard is going to be a big chunk of the podcast. We got new Edge of Eternities cards. We had rotation. We got some new deck lists. So we're going to dig into that. But we also want to talk a little bit about a spoiler card from Spider-Man and also the release schedule. There's been some negativity going around about how fast spoilers have been. So we want to talk a little bit about that as well. So we're going to be getting into all that today. Before we do, though, a reminder that today's show is brought to you by Card Conduit, and Card Conduit is the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. If you ever get tired of the hassles of buy listing, Card Conduit lets you skip them. You can use their curated service where you send in as many cards as you want with a buy list value of $1 or more and pay just a 5% service fee. And if you want to do a bit of work, you can use their sorted service where you list and sort your cards in advance and pay just a 2% fee. And either way, you're going to get a detailed report with the results in a fast payment once your order is processed. And you can even get another 10% off by heading over to cardconduit.com/MTGGoldfish. Card Conduit, it's the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. So thank you to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And let's talk some Magic. And let's start with the big spoiler of the week. So Spider-Man spoilers start the end of the month. The set releases end of September, but we got another early one this week. Just one standalone card in the Soul Stone. And this card is generating some conversation. So this is a 2-mana legendary artifact. It's an Infinity Stone. That is its type. Actually, 2 types. This was clarified by Mark Rosewater. It's not Infinity Stone 1 type. Infinity is a type and Stone is a type. It's indestructible. It taps to make a black mana, and then you can pay 7 mana, tap it, exile a creature you control to harness the infinity of the Soul Stone. And once you have harnessed infinity, at the beginning of your upkeep, you get to reanimate a creature from your graveyard. So Crim, the Soul Stone, before we get into all the, fast spoilers and everything, what do you think of this card? Like, is there any standard potential here, or is this purely just a commander card? And how good do you think it is?
Well, if it is purely just a commander card, I think it's still going to be absurdly pricey, right?
Yeah.
Obviously it is probably at its best there because, 2-mana rocks, we haven't had something this good at a 2-mana rock in a while, right?
No.
I feel like this is like an auto include in black. Like, you don't have to really build around it. It's not like, it looks like, okay, so it's 2 mana, and it just sits there and you still have to spend 7 and sack your creature to do something later that maybe your deck doesn't care about. But the main thing here is just passively being on the board. This will generate you value in the late game. It's indestructible. So it gets around a lot of the just basic destroy effects that you see for artifacts. So I don't know, just having it being already just an indestructible mana rock in black is good enough. Anything else on top of that, this card is wild. Standard Star Cage exists. There's a lot more exiling. But at the same time, it's such a low investment cost. It just comes down to I've seen Iron Crag or Iron Crag, whatever that get played. We've seen, what is it? The Heirloom Herd or whatever,
Herd
the green
Heirloom.
one.
Yeah.
We've seen that pop up here and there. So if those cards are getting played, I don't see why this wouldn't.
I think the only downside, and it's the same thing in Standard in specific, same thing you run into with the Iron Crag is, in Standard being legendary is kind of a cost. I've had some decks where I really would love to play 4 Iron Crags, but I kind of feel like, I don't know if I can actually get away with playing 4 of them, because it's just going to sit out and I'm going to end up legendary rolling myself. So I think that, cuts into it a little bit, but I do think, considering the Iron Crag has seen some play, you mentioned Herd Heirloom, 2 mana, untapped, it's going to make mana right away. We don't get that many 2-mana mana rocks that are just unconditional 2-mana mana rocks. Even in Standard, for a long time we didn't get those. So I think it has some potential. I think the real reason though this card is super hyped is, like you said, in Commander. In Commander, you got to consider that Charcoal Diamond is kind of a mono black staple for a lot of people. Black is one of those colors where you really need mana rocks to ramp a lot of the times, or you can't land ramp like you can in green. So I expect this is just kind of an auto-included mono black, and even most 2-color black decks. I know the ability is 7 mana. And maybe you're not like a creature heavy deck, so it's not going to be great in every deck. But just being an untapped, indestructible 2-mana rock, that's the selling point of this card. Like, that's enough for a black deck that you would want to play it every time. And one of the things, I don't know, the price is my biggest concern about this card. I think this card is really cool, but I'm very worried that it's going to be really expensive. Early pre-sales are up and it's $50 to $80 depending on version. So that's a lot of money for a mana rock. I wish it was a rare. And I know you probably can't make it a rare because of like flavor purposes, lore purposes. I know this is, you know, the IP more than me. This is a pretty iconic thing, right, in Marvel, Crim?
Yeah. Whether or not like some people will be like technically it's an infinity gem, but like eventually like yeah, like this is one of the biggast things, and whether it's the MCU or the comics, right? This is pretty iconic in that world. Like we even had, I was at this place that sells a bunch of retro video games, right, Seth? And I looked at the Super Nintendo section, and they had an old Marvel side scroller called Battle for the Gems.
Ooh.
And this was on, like, you know, like you saw the Infinity Stones and stuff like that on the cover. So this is like very big in Marvel lore.
Is it like One Ring level? I know there's like 6 of them, right, or something in MCU. I'm learning a little bit about, about Marvel because of this set. But is it like the One Ring to Lord of the Rings? Is it like that level of iconicness? Like, is this like the headliner of the set and going to be super hyped?
It is definitely on the popularity scale of what the One Ring
Pretty
is.
close to that,
like,
yeah.
There's lots of artifacts and trinkets, you know, like comic book, like the way comic books work, they can rewrite something where, you know, which they've done, where it's like, oh, this is not as important as it once was. The Council of Reeds have a bunch of Infinity Stones all the time. So, yeah.
Does this feel mythic to you as a Magic card? Like, for a minute, pretend Marvel Infinity Stones have nothing to do with it. Just as like a Magic card, as a piece of cardboard. For some reason, I'm having a hard time, like, grasping that this mana rock is a mythic. To me, mana rocks feel like not especially mythic, even though the reanimation ability and the infinity thing, I guess that part makes it feel a little bit mythic. But I kind of wish it wasn't a mythic because it's just going to be so expensive. But do you think it qualifies as a mythic, Grim?
I mean, let's ask you this, Seth. I mean, both you and I, we aren't exactly the biggest Lord of the Rings fan, right?
That's true.
And like, how do we feel about the One Ring being a mythic? At first, let's go. I remember both you and I were just like, oh, kind of medium on the card, right? Like it draws, but like it's kind of slow, right? And back then, I thought it could have been a rare. I would have been wrong because that card is very good. But
One Ring's busted.
Yeah, One Ring is very busted, right? But yeah, like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think just alone a 2-mana untapped mana rock that is going to be doing way more in the late game that doesn't need that much of a, you know, kind of a build around. Like, Virtue of Persistence is what this becomes, right?
Yeah.
And Virtue of Persistence is 7 mana and sorcery speed. So this could be 6 mana or 7 mana instant speed as long as you have a thing to sacrifice and is a mana rock early. So this feels mythic.
Its
right?
power
like,
level, Its power level is definitely very high. I think Virtue Persistence was a card that when that was first spoiled, I was actually very high on that in Commander because I was like, the removal mode's not super exciting to me in Commander because it's only -3/-3, but the reanimation mode seems really good and I can snipe like a mana dork or utility creature. In the end, I play it in some decks. I don't play it in every deck. I feel like this is way better than Virtue just because being an untapped mana rock is way better than giving something -3/-3 in Commander. Like the cheap mode of this card is way, way better. So I think this card's like, it's actually insane. And when you think about like the reanimation mode and the weird infinity thing and the infinity symbol, I guess when you add all that together, maybe it's mythic enough. I guess I'm just scared. And I wonder what you think about this. So Wizards has already talked about there being more Infinity Stones coming. I don't know the exact number. I think someone said 6. I don't know the lore good enough, but I think 6 might be the number that people are estimating.
There's a gauntlet.
Do you think they will...
Each knuckle.
One for each knuckle.
Center.
Do you think?
Yeah, actually, like, yeah.
Do you think that they will all be this? Like, is your expectation that the next Infinity Stone is like a red mana rock that's 2 mana and has some upside, and the blue one is a 2 mana rock with an upside? Or do you think it's possible that the other ones are way different, not even mana rocks at all or something? Like, what is your guess? You got any feeling on that?
I mean, I could see it being like probably similar to this, right? Because what would
That would be
maybe if there was one that wouldn't be a mana or just a mana rock, would be the Soul Stone, because the Soul Stone is like kind of partially sentient as well.
Oh, okay.
So in the lore, so I guess like if that's the case, wouldn't this be the one that isn't a mana rock? Right? Like it would be maybe like a mana dork or something, right? But yeah.
I mean, my expectation would be, if I was doing it, it would be a cycle, right? Like, it would make sense to me if this was a cycle and they were in different colors and you had one of each. I just worry that that's going to add a lot of cost to commander decks, or to optimally building commander decks. Like, yeah, you don't have to play them. It is just a mana rock, and you can just play a Mind Stone or Arcane Signet for kind of free. So it's not like you have to go out and spend $50 or $80 to make your deck work. Like, you don't need to have the Soul Stone. But if you want to build the most optimal black deck, I think you're going to want to have the Soul Stone. And if we end up getting one of these in each color over the next couple years, doesn't that just add like $50 to every monocolor deck that wants to actually be competitive? Like, that's the only real downside I see.
Can I ask you an honest question? I do you look? I think you're being kind of generous if you think it's only going to be $50.
You might be right.
A lot more than $50.
I think
right?
definitely like the headliner version and the borderless version, I expect those to be super expensive. You think even the pack version, just like the base version, will be more than 50? It's definitely possible.
I mean, okay, let's say at launch, pre-release, it'll have its silly high price tag or whatever. Then it does the thing where it dips, but then like after the set's like not as in circulation as much, I don't see why this wouldn't be $100, like $80-$100, right? Like this is going to be up there, and it's just because, again, I really do believe if you have a black deck, why wouldn't I have this in there? Like, other than budget constraints, right? Like if I open this, right, or something along those lines, why would I not play it? If budget were not a part of the issue, why wouldn't I own it in the deck?
It's strictly better than cards that you already play in your deck. Like, if you're playing Mono Black, it's strictly better than Felware Stone or Charcoal Diamond or even Arcane Signet. If you're playing Mono Black, it's better than Arcane Signet, right? Because Arcane Signet is just making black mana. This is indestructible. It has extra upsides. So you really should play it in, like, literally every black deck. It's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out. It's definitely a very exciting commander card. Yeah, it's definitely an exciting one. I don't know if I like the cost aspect. I really wish there was a way to get it down to rare, but outside of that, it is a super cool card. Related to this card, Crim, we've been getting early Spider-Man spoilers. We just had Edge of Eternities release. We literally started getting spoilers for Spider-Man from San Diego Comic-Con during Early Access Day, like literally in the middle of Early Access Day. And people started talking about that. It was kind of a conversation. And people were like, well, Wizards doesn't control SDCC. If they want to spoil stuff at SDCC, they got to do it. And I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But then a few days later, right around release of Edge of Eternities, when people are just brewing their decks, then we get the Soul Stone, another early Spider-Man spoiler. And I've seen a lot of conversation about this, a lot of negativity about this with the new faster release schedule. We're getting 6 sets a year now, and we're getting spoilers constantly. What do you think of this? What do you think about the spoiler schedule and the negativity and just this whole situation?
Well, I mean, I think that first off, I think it's warranted that you feel a little burnt out, right? Like there's a lot coming out, right? But at the same time, San Diego Comic-Con, that's where you need, right? Like you need to probably have your Spider-Man set out, right? And in preview, because I'll be honest with you, I feel like Spider-Man and this set and all that, you'll have the max amount of Magic players, the enfranchised players who already care or will ever care about Spider-Man, already know about it, right? Mm-hmm. But this one is for the people that aren't Magic players, I think, at Comic-Con, right? Comic-Con is for everyone else. That's why they're welcome decks. That's why there's all of this, right? This is trying to onboard the non-Magic players that love comics. So that makes sense there.
Yep.
The release of the Infinity Stone coming out, right? That's, again, this is the nature of a faster release schedule, but I guess I don't know. I mean, I still love Edge of Eternities, right? I'm still enjoying it, and I guess my main thing here is I'm curious, what is it about a spoiler? And it doesn't matter when Magic decides to spoil things, right? What is it about a spoiler that ruins your experience with your set, like the set that's out, right? Because I personally think that you should just enjoy, like with any hobby, the release schedule, which whatever is to your maximum bandwidth, right? Whatever is healthy for you. If you feel like some things are just like it's too much, I've had very good, just normal conversations online of people saying, hey, I'm excited, you're excited, right? And I'm also excited for this set, but I want to enjoy it later. So I'm gonna mute you and your threads. And I'm like, yo, dope, do that. Right? Like when you should enjoy your hobby according to your schedule, not how a company wants you to enjoy it, right? So you should you should try to just tune out what you don't care about and love what you love right now, right? While it's here. So like Edge of Eternities being here, I'm still having the time of my life. Spider-Man being here, I can equally still be excited, but that doesn't diminish how much I enjoy Edge of Eternities. And I don't know, if there's 2 movies coming out, right? Like one movie's release in the future doesn't ruin my excitement for what's happening now.
That makes sense. I can see that. I would say, I guess, a couple of things. So one is, and this is definitely a content creator complaint more than a Magic community member complaint, but it definitely rubbed me a little bit wrong to do the spoilers during early access, because I felt like early access was from Wizards' perspective, I feel like it's a time to promote your newest set, and that's why they do it, right? Is you get all the streamers, all the content creators, and they give a bunch of advertising for the newest set. So from a content creator perspective, it was very annoying to be geared up to do early access day and right in the middle of trying to do the streams and record content for YouTube, being like, oh my God, there's a whole bunch of Spider-Man spoilers that I got to make a video about to try to put on the YouTube. So from a content perspective, I feel like it did to some extent overshadow early access day a little bit, but I know that is purely just for a content creator. If you're just a random player who's not streaming, making content, that doesn't matter to you. So that just matters to me. From the player's perspective, the thing that annoys me, and see what you think about this, to me it just feels a little disrespectful. I agree with you should just enjoy your hobbies in the way that you enjoy them, but could you imagine during Final Fantasy release weekend, Wizards dumping a bunch of cards from Edge of Eternities, or during Spider-Man release weekend being like, hey, it's early access for Spider-Man, we're going to preview a bunch of Lorewyn today. I feel like this is something that they would only do to an in-universe set. They're okay with overshadowing in-universe sets because I don't care about them as much as the Universes Beyond sets, but I would be shocked to see them overshadowing the release of a Universes Beyond set by spoiling an in-universe set. Do you think I'm wrong to think that? Do you think if you reverse the universes there, could you imagine this happening to Final Fantasy or Spider-Man, just getting your pre-release weekend kind of overshadowed by the next set?
I mean, well, okay, so since the beginning of this year or whatever, every set has been selling at pre-releases, right? And during Tarkir, we were already talking about Final Fantasy. During Final Fantasy, there was already Edge of Eternities. And right now in Spider-Man, there's already Avatar. So you know what I mean? I think there's a little bit of bias right now towards IPs and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's just some that people are a little more contentious, there's contention about, right? And so Spider-Man, I think, is going to hit some of the purists, right? A little harder, and whereas Avatar won't. But but as someone who loves Spider-Man, I don't find it disrespectful that Avatar is here. I don't think that I guess I just don't see how it's disrespectful, because there, in the same way that I can be excited about Spider-Man, you can equally just not care about it, right?
Oh yeah,
And
no, it's true.
right, so everyone is entitled to have fun with and enjoy what they want, how they want, and to whatever extent they want. So I don't find it that disrespectful that they've kind of started to reveal anything, because the early access events, I feel is a creator thing, right? So creators will handle the pushing and the talking about the new set, right? And talk about what they like about it. And the companies are all Wizards is already onto the next set every time. Every time they've just been onto the next set. So they still support the set that's out, but they're already getting the ball rolling on the next set. And that's just the nature of 6 set releases a year.
Do you think it makes sense from a business perspective? That would be the other question I'd have with this. Do you think it has an impact on the sales of a set like Edge of Eternities when it's like the first week when you can actually buy the cards? I know you can pre-order them earlier, but you could actually like pick
Sure.
up the cards physically. And like in some sense, the conversation, if you look at Magic Reddit or Magic social media, is not about the planets and the spacecraft, but it's about, oh my God, look how cool this Spider-Man is. Look at how sweet this Infinity Stone is. Do you think it could have a negative impact on sales where people are like, well, I was going to buy some Edge of Eternities this week, but the Spider-Man set's looking pretty cool. Maybe I'll just, leave my wallet in my pocket and wait a month or two and get some Spider-Man because that Infinity Stone looks really neat to me. Like, do you think there's any chance Wizards is kind of, like how we try to avoid posting 2 videos at the same time on YouTube because they kind of cannibalize each other a little bit? Do you think there's any chance from a business perspective that could be like hurting sales, or Wizards probably has this all figured out and they must assume that that's not happening or they wouldn't be doing it?
I don't know. I'd like to assume that Wizards would account for that, but I have no idea.
Who knows?
You know what I mean? Because we still don't have spectator. I guess you know what I mean. Like it took forever for a friends list, right?
That is true.
I have no idea how that works there, but I would like to think that anybody that's going to be hyped about space is already hyped about space. Anybody that, and then like from then on, it's going to be about like word of mouth of the set, right? Like, does the set, is it as fun as you would think it is? And unfortunately, I don't play enough limited to fully speak on it, but right now the set is like kind of lukewarm to a lot of the limited players.
That's what I've heard from just people talking. Some people seem to like it, other people kind of meh on it.
Yeah, so like, and you came from Final Fantasy, arguably one of, like, I would say a top 5 limited.
People
set,
really like Final Fantasy.
Yeah, like I play Final Fantasy Limited for fun, right? Like, and I haven't done that since like Innistrad or something, or cons, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't think it really cannibalizes it all that much. If anything, people have, when they announced the yearly release schedule or whatever, I consider that kind of a blessing. Because I already can kind of roadmap what I'm going to spend my money on, right?
Yeah.
So my 2 things that I was going to save up for would be starting at Final Fantasy and then going into like Spider-Man and whatnot. Like those are the 3 sets I want, that and Edge of Eternities. These are the 3 biggest sets for me, if I'm being completely honest, for the year. So I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe like it's probably better that they announce it early so that we can kind of plan for it. And then the hype season, right? Like, it's like whoever wants it is going to want it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we're probably going to have to get used to this because we kind of saw this. The timing wasn't as noticeable because it wasn't like on pre-release weekend or on early access day. But we had a lot of early Final Fantasy spoilers too, where it was like, oh, this is this character's birthday and it's a month and a half before the set release. So we spoiled this one card because it's Tifa's birthday or something. Like, so I think this is going to keep happening. What would you say to Magic players, the community? Like, this is a new thing for everyone, right? That we're getting this many sets a year, at least this many standard sets. I guess in some sense, I don't know if we even get more sets overall when you include like Modern Horizons and Master sets. Like, if they literally don't print any of those, it might not actually be that many more sets a year, even with 6 standard sets. But how do people handle this? Do you have any advice that you'd give to someone who's like, man, this is just so much. I love Magic, but this is just like, it's too much for me right now. It feels like it's too much. What do you say to someone like that, Crim? How do people navigate this new schedule?
As someone who's played like Pokemon and like Yu-Gi-Oh and whatnot, right? Like, I guess this is the biggest thing, right? Like, I learned to enjoy those hobbies at my own pace as well. And that is, I know I've said that a lot, but like, that is like the best way to go about this, right? Like, I'm going to catch up to whatever I'm going to catch up with whenever I do, right? Like, I may not know about 3 sets. Like, I just found out that Pokemon Black and White got a new set. And I'm like, but Team Rocket just got here, and I'm still in Team Rocket, right? Like, so I'm just like, all right, cool. Well, I'll get to Black and White whenever I get to it. And then I manage my expectations, try not to get caught up in the whirlwind of hype that is like perpetual like spoiler season. And just look for the things I'm excited for in each little set. And I think the biggest thing I would probably say about all of this, oh man, I had on the tip of my brain there, and I
do that
completely
all the
forgot.
time. Yep. Yeah, I know how it is.
The biggest thing I wanted to tell you about, I forgot already.
And it's gone. I mean, I think you have I think that's a good point of being able to just do things on your own schedule. And I think that works especially well if you're like someone who mostly plays Commander or even like Eternal
there it
Magic
is.
formats. It gets a little tougher if you're like trying to keep up on Standard to like opt out of a set, and especially if you're trying to be competitive and sweaty. You know, it's hard to opt out if you're trying to do that. But if you're just playing casual Commander, there is literally no reason why you can't be like, I don't really care for Edge of Eternities or Spider-Man or Final Fantasy or pick a set, Dragons of Tarkir, and just like skip a set. And it's not actually going to really have hardly any of an impact on your ability to play the game, right? Like if you're playing that way, it's very easy. Maybe not easy because companies are very good at like commanding your attention. That's kind of what companies do. That's what our whole world is built around at this point, is the attention economy, where clicks and attention and social media. And everyone's trying to get you to look at them and look at them. But if you can get past that, like from a gameplay perspective, there's no reason why, if you're a Commander player, you can't literally just opt out of any set and still just keep playing the game right along and being fine.
Yeah, that you know what? You just reminded me what I was going to say, because it was exactly that, right? Like, unless you are like going to like the Pro Tour or something,
right?
And I'm not saying like casual players' opinions on that aren't valid, right? Because and feelings, I think you are valid in what you're feeling and whatnot. But unless you're a pro player, you are not obligated to be caught up in any way, shape, or form, right? And I think there is a luxury to that, right? Because again, it is casual. So and if the key thing about it is casual, then you should enjoy it casually, right? Like you do it whatever, whenever.
Yeah.
So that, I think that is the most important thing, and that is the only way you can maintain a healthy relationship with whatever hobbies you do have.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's a good reminder. No matter what your hobby is, like, you can go too far and get too obsessed with anything and like lose that balance in your life. So maybe it's an important just like reminder of how important balance is, and keeping that in mind, your own mental health and physical health as you're engaging with your hobbies, because it is easy to like get sucked in and just like go too far. So maybe it's a good reminder for that, or a good time for that reminder. Anyway, any other thoughts on Spider-Man, spoilers, that stuff, or should we move on and talk a little bit about new Standard?
The only thing left for me to say about Spider-Man is that, this set looks really, really solid. Like so far the cards look really good. So power level wise,
the set looks stronger than, to me, the set looks stronger than Final Fantasy. When I remember Final Fantasy, I thought like, oh, the flavor is really good. People love the flavor. It's got some cards that seem really strong. But overall, I was kind of like, for Standard, I don't think it's like a super push set. There's so many cards from Spider-Man already, and we only have a handful of rares and mythics so far that I'm like, wow, that card seems really push. So I definitely agree power level wise, this set seems really good.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. We just had Standard rotation. We have Edge of Eternities. We have a brand new Standard format to some extent. I mean, we are in 3-year Standard now, so rotation in some ways leads to less change overall. Like a smaller percentage of cards are leaving the format than there were in 2-year Standard. So you might not get a full scale like reset where every deck is gone, but we still got a lot of new stuff going on. So Crim, let's talk some new Standard. And before we're going to delve into some of the top decks and what's actually going on in the meta. How's it been so far? How's it been? How have you been liking Edge of Eternity Standard and post-rotation Standard?
You said you feel like a good, not that many cards have fallen off. Technically true compared to history's past. But it feels like I lost a lot as a black card enjoyer. Losing out on cut down, like go for the throat, like having shoot the sheriff not kill everything because the play has just been having outlaws out is kind of nuts. And I'm just like, please wait.
I'm I'm really glad you brought that up because the number one deck right now, if you just go on the metagame page, is Dimir Midrange, which was one of the best decks pre-rotation. The biggest change to that deck, a lot of the creatures, our creatures are going to know the bats and the spyglass sirens and the preachers and enduring curiosities. They've all been around before. The Kaido, of course. The big shakeup to the deck, though, is a removal package because Go for the Throat's gone, Cut Down's gone, Anoint with Affliction's gone. Right now, if you just look at deck lists, it seems like people are trying to like piece together the removal package when before rotation, it was pretty like solidified that this was the best removal package. Now I'm seeing decks where it's like some Shoot the Sheriffs, maybe a Bitter Triumph or two, some Nowhere to Run, some Tragic Trajectories. As the removal mage, what do you think the actual way forward for black removal is? Have you got any sense yet of like what sort of package works best? What do you think of Tragic Trajectory? I've had kind of mixed experiences with that card so far, where like sometimes it feels great because it's 1 mana, and then sometimes it feels horrible because it's sorcery speed, and I really need to interact at instant speed. But what do you think of the black removal moving forward?
Well, I definitely miss a lot from like, you know what I mean? The one thing that is a main like point of focus for me is that Tragic Trajectory is sorcery speed.
Yeah.
That has been very painful in a meta where mono green will kill you and you need instant speed answers.
Yep, the landfall deck.
So yeah, the landfall deck is a real deck. I think the mono green deck, call it what you will, it's Infect. It's just pretty much Infect, right, of 2025. And that deck needs to be dealt with efficiently. And losing Sheoldred's Edict is huge, right? So I think there's going to be still some fine-tuning. The fine-tuning that I've landed on, because I'm playing Dimir, at least in paper, this is a card I was high on towards the end of last standard, right? Especially when Steel Cutter was still around. It was Beastbinder. Because Beastbinder is an outlaw, right? So it does not get picked off. It cannot get trajectoried, at least without Void being triggered. Oh, and also it pairs nicely with Trajectory. So like that card I have been pretty high on for a minute here. And I am really liking that in Dimir Midrange. That has now made a lot more things manageable. It itself, by the way, another mode people often overlook on that card is that it can turn artifacts into blank squares. So like that being huge in a world where like maybe you're dealing with synthesizers and stuff like that. Like, what do you cut? What am I cutting out of that? I'm trimming some number of like bats and whatnot, just because I think bat does die to like everything under the sun right now, and it just feels like I spent 2 mana to skip my turn every time I played. So,
are you still playing 4 drowners even with the Beastbinder?
Yes.
Yeah. And maybe that's
still got
like the removal package is maybe you focus more on the creature removal, like the Beastbinders and the Drowners, and then less of the Spell Beast removal. I guess that works well with Kaido too, because you have more bodies that you can ninjutsu off of, so you get a little extra upside there. You mentioned
it's hard to block the Azure Beastbinder, right? So they really have to focus on killing Beastbinder, and that card has been an all-star.
So you mentioned Shoot the Sheriff being the most obvious Go for the Throat replacement in the format. The card that looks the most like Go for the Throat. Right now it is, I think, the most played black removal spell. If you just go by the data we have right now, it's in like 29% of decks. Super early data, so don't worry too much about the percentages. But it's the one that people are playing most. Are we at the point, Crim, where outlaws are going up in value because Shoot the Sheriff is what black decks are leaning on? Like, when you're building a deck, do you think, this has an outlaw type, maybe I should play this because it's not going to die as much? Like, are we at that point?
It's a consideration, right? Like, I think it is a strong consideration. Just because I can't tell you how many times I just sit there and this 1/3 is just the most annoying thing in the world because they can't kill it. So, I've won so many games for free on the back of this of the card itself. So Beastbinder is the truth, and that's just with the very short amount of time I've had to really like test every outlaw card, right? But it is worth going back now breaking out all the outlaws and seeing what works, right?
Yeah.
Lizards has a good chunk of outlaws
Yep.
as well.
I mean,
So
and we've seen this in the past with Go for the Throw, right? If Go for the Throw is the removal spell that everyone's leaning on, you get a little bump to your artifact creatures where you get this little
Yep.
upside where, oh, I play an artifact, they can't kill it. So it's not like it's going to change the entire way you build your deck, but I think at least it's a good like tiebreaker and something to keep in mind as you're building decks that outlaws go up a little bit in value. The other removal spell, and then we're going to move on because we're not just going to talk removal all day, but what about Nowhere to Run? Nowhere to Run's a card that I've run into a lot on the ladder. I'm only seeing like a lot of times one ofs. If you look at like the tournament deck list that we've gotten so far, it's not usually like a 4 of, but I think that has kind of a big impact on how I build some of my decks too, because I was playing some green decks with like a Snakeskin Veil for removal or for protection against removal.
Yeah.
And then all the black decks were playing Nowhere to Run. I was like, well, if everyone's playing Nowhere to Run, there's not much of a point in playing Snakeskin Veil because it's not doing anything. So how good do you think Nowhere to Run is post-rotation? Is that like a 4 of main deck removal spell? Is it kind of the same as before rotation? Where does that fit into this package?
it's all on how much green you expect to see.
Yeah.
I think Nowhere to Run only like truly hoses green.
Oh, it does that.
And like that is the only thing it does, and it does it well. But I think it is at least worth 2 of. Like, I would not go under 2. Just because, and especially in best of 1, I might go up to 3. Just because best of 1 is a format where I know there's a lot of green. And there's a few new aggro variants, but none of them absolutely obliterate you like mono green out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I would say yes. I think this is a very good one. And -3 does kill a majority of aggression. Problem is, it kind of sucks elsewhere, right? Like, it doesn't do anything elsewhere.
Yeah, there's some matchups where it's just not going to get the job done, and then there's other matchups where it's like the best removal spell that you have in your deck. So anyway, let's move. Oh, go ahead.
Maybe that's, like, to wrap it all up, maybe that's how this standard should be right now, right? There is no catch-all. There is a mixture of removals, and you just hope you draw the right one.
And I think that's actually, if that is how things end up, and we'll have to see because it might solidify around like a package as time goes on. But for now, I think it's actually very interesting because you can put the right threats in to beat the removal spells if you can predict well what your opponents are playing. Like if you're expecting a lot of Nowhere to Runs, you can play a lot of 4 toughness creatures, the Preachers, the Cosmogran Zenith. Like you can get these 4 toughness creatures that dodge that. If you're expecting Shoot the Sheriff, you can go on outlaw creature types. So it might actually lead to a pretty dynamic format compared to a format where you're just like, well, it doesn't matter. Everything's just going to die anyway to some catch-all removal spell. There's actually like ways that you can get an advantage in building your deck by being able to know what removal your opponents are probably going to be playing and build your deck in a way that's like resilient to that removal. So I actually think it's a pretty good place for Standard to be. But if we move into the next decks, next on our list, so Demir's number 1 right now. Number 2 and number 3 on the list, we got 2 Izzet decks, which are kind of similar because they're both VV decks, although they play pretty differently. One is VV Cauldron, which was around before rotation. It lost mostly Voldaren Thrillseeker was the big lost, been replaced by Dracnotics Engineer as the most straightforward replacement. And then Izzet Prowess, also a VV deck, lost Monastery Swiftspear. And the way that deck has been interesting to me because it's kind of went a lot bigger, I would say. Like it's playing Planispheres now, it's playing more card draw, it's playing Roaring Furnaces and Steaming Saunas. So you don't have like the
Ral.
It's like got Ral in the main deck now. Yeah. So instead of trying to be this like aggro Swiftspear, kill you super fast deck, now it's almost more of like a mid-range Prowess style deck. What do you make of the Izzet decks that are near the top of the meta, Crim?
I like the Izzet Prowess deck just because this allows me to play with VV without just being a combo kill.
Yeah.
Right? I like the deck. I think that the new Izzet deck seems more balanced. And I mean, obviously,
definitely
it's way more balanced
to the
than
era. Yeah. Whew.
Yeah. So I've been liking playing the Prowess version because it's still equally skill intensive, and all the decisions they aren't just like obvious. And I really like that. Cauldron is out there as well. I'm curious as how Cauldron is. I think Cauldron is a deck that I am very scared to play in a meta where people just passively have a lot of graveyard hate, a lot of just random abrades are popping up, right? Like, Can the deck win without Cauldron? And it looks like it could in some situations, yes.
In some situations. I will say the Cauldron deck, I'm not really scared of it. Like, I've played against that deck a bunch on the ladder, playing random things, and it feels fine to me. It looks fine, but it doesn't seem to be, like, super scary to me. I usually feel like I can manage it. If you have a graveyard hate, if your deck's built with some artifact hate, there are ways that you can deal with it. And if you can keep the Cauldron from popping off, and then I guess secondarily, Prophytic Memory is another card that can kind of just build this massive threat. But if you can keep those couple of engine pieces offline, the rest of the deck's actually kind of tame. Like, it's not really built to support VV that well, other than getting VV under a Cauldron, then it's really good, but it doesn't have a lot of spells to, like, really pop off with VV like the Prowess deck. So I think I'm with you where I think the Prowess deck, out of the two Izzet decks, is actually one that I'm higher on at the moment. I think the Prowess one's really good. Not completely sold on the Cauldron deck, though. I think it's fine, but it hasn't been super impressive to me. Next up, we got a deck that I'm very interested in because it's actually got a new card that is kind of the foundation of the deck, even though it's a very old archetype, which is Esper Self-Bounce, making a comeback. Number 4 on the metagame page right now, and that is taken up Cosmogran Zenith is a 4 of, and that card is wild. I've played against that card a couple of times, and the, like, turn 4, play my Cosmogran Zenith, followed up with a 1-mana spell, make 2 tokens, or make my team huge. It gets out of hand really quick, and the Pixie Shell is so perfect for it, because any of the Pixies automatically give you 2 spells, right? You play a Pixie, you pick something up, you play that thing, it's 2 spells, you trigger Cosmogran Zenith, and it just goes crazy. What do you think of the return of Self-Bounce, and how good is Cosmogran Zenith actually? Like, is this actually a legit standard staple?
I think from the jump of the set, I was playing with this kind of like trying to make the deck work, but in black and white, right? Because we had talked about it on the podcast, right? With the Angel and all that.
How did it go with the Angel? Like, did you like the Angel bouncing plan?
So I went Angel. It's Orzhov. I had the Angel bounce, and I had Aven spell, whatever the 3-mana plotter is. Interrupter. Aven Interrupter. And Cosmogran Zenith. So the Interrupter was a lot of fun. The Angel, I had some hands where I was able to just like play like a ton of them in the first few turns, and their whole hand was exiled. And then Aven Interrupter added attacks on top of that. So that one was fun. It was cute and gimmicky, but this one has the ability to stick around. Cosmogran Zenith is the truth from early playtesting. I don't know if Esper is where it needs to be, but it does have all the shock lands, so that is nice, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if Esper is the final like iteration of it, but at least right now, Cosmogran Zenith is the truth. Of the cards that are new, that card is very good in this deck. Trajectory is so easy to trigger, especially with Momentum Breaker, right? Like the things that are able to remove themselves. And in Esper, you do get the little bobble that sacks itself and stuns something. That's just another way to trigger, trajectory. So this deck, I feel like, is the perfect home for Tragic Trajectory and Cosmogran Zenith. These are just the natural shoo-ins.
Yes. Yeah, and I will also say, it is a great Tragic Trajectory deck. Also, Commander Grand Zenith, one of the things I really like about it is it lets the deck close out the game quickly once it gets to that point, which is something I think the Pixie deck kind of struggled with before, is like, you can take my hand, you can kill all my stuff, but in the end, you're trying to beat me down with these, like, 2/1s and 2/2s, so it takes you a while to actually kill me. Cosmogran Zenith really changed that equation, where that can just let you kill your opponent in, like, 1 or 2 turns, which is something that Esper Self-Bounce was not very good at before, so I think that's made the deck even scarier. Next up, we have the Crim Classic, some blue-white control action. How good is control in this format, Crim? So control looks a lot like control did before rotation. Big upgrades, Seam Rip in the removal slot, Pinnacle Star Cage, replacing Temporary Lockdown, some number of Consult the Star charts alongside the stock ups in the card draw package. Otherwise, it's Beezas, Meringue River Regents, maybe an Elspeth, grinding out with a bunch of counters and removal spells. But how good do you think the Azorius control deck is in the post-rotation meta?
I think Seam Rip is probably the best thing it's gotten out of it, like from the new set. Seam Rip is insane. Like this is Portable Hole, but better because it's an enchantment.
Yep,
right
definitely
now,
gonna braid
just
it.
Yeah, it doesn't get abraded. And right now there's been this weird, like, wishy-washy, no one knows how to, like, the removal suit, just like blue-black, right? And no matter which way you turn it, there's no way for the blue-black deck to deal with the enchantment efficiently outside of, like, Withering Torment and stuff. So this card has been all-star, and it doesn't get picked up by Star Cage. Consult the Stars. I keep bouncing back and forth on this card. As in, like, am I playing 4 of these and no stock-ups? Then I'm doing a mixture of, like, some stock-ups and some of these. And then I've kind of just tried cutting stock-up entirely. And then just only playing a full 4 Consult the Stars. And I will say the full 4, Consult the Stars is nice because the instant speed. But I do like just the 3 mana efficiency of stock up, right? So I'm still trying to figure out that part, like the numbers on that. And I don't even know if you're supposed to play some spread of both of those. But I do know I love Seam Rip. Pinnacle Star Cage depends on the format. Best of 1, I see a lot of abrade effects.
Yeah.
Best of 3, I don't see as many, so it's more of a best of 3 card. Just because I do not want to be giving this back, like all the stuff back, right? So not easily, at least. So Star Cage, it's fine.
And I feel like you mentioned enchantment being better than artifact with Seam Rip. I think that the meta is just more prepared for artifacts, in part because of all like the spacecraft and the Edge of Eternity stuff, but in large part because of Simulacrum Synthesizer. And I know I've heard people in Best of 1 in specific talking about there being a lot of Simulacrum Synthesizer decks, which is funny because in the Best of 3 meta, if you look on like the Moto results and the early paper results, it's pretty far down in the meta, like a tier 3 deck. It's not anywhere near the top, but in Best of 1, it seems to be one of the more popular decks. So I think people are more prepared for artifacts than they are for enchantments at the moment. It's interesting also that you mentioned the card draw package in the control deck. I don't think anyone knows the numbers at this point. I was looking through like Moto decks that have done well in the challenges and stuff, and you have splits from like 4 Consult the Star charts in 1 stock up to 4 stock ups and like 2 Consult the Star charts. One person was playing 4 of each. They just went full on, I'm playing all of them. I got 8 card draw spells. I'm going to draw the cards. But I don't think anyone has figured out the exact numbers yet. It's going to be interesting to see. I've seen a lot of people be very high on Consult the Star charts, just on social media talking about how good it is. Do you think it could actually beat out stock up, or do you think we end with some sort of mix? Like, do you think this is just the unsolvable problem and it's always going to be based on the meta or based on your deck, which one is better?
As someone who enjoys the instant speed play style, I have really enjoyed Consult the Star charts more.
Yeah.
That is so far where I'm at.
It's really good in the late game too. It's the same feeling as like Dig Through Time, when like in the late game when someone has like 8 or 10 lands on the battlefield and they cast like the kick Consult the Star charts, you're just like, oh, they're like double tutored. They're definitely gonna have whatever they need, like, because they're digging so deep. It is way worse. I've also seen people have to do the like turn 2 Consult the Star charts where they get like the 2 card Anticipate and just get one of their top 2. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't look nearly as exciting.
And that is where it slightly flubs against stock up, right?
Yeah.
But like I'm kind of willing to take that L in that department, and hopefully, maybe this is exactly why I added 1 stock up. And so the problem is then I went up to like 2 stock ups for Consult the Stars, and I found that my deck is just mostly air because all I'm doing is just drawing more cards.
You're drawing into more card draw and just, and you got to spend in on all of it. So the tempo loss is just brutal. Anyway, let's move on to some other decks. So the next 2 decks on the metagame page, we don't got to get into super in-depth. It's Gruul Aggro and Boros Mice, and they're kind of similar. They're both playing the mouse package. They're both trying to kill you quickly. Not a lot of new cards. I guess there's a Nova Hellkite maybe in the Gruul Aggro deck. The mouse deck, I don't think really playing any new cards in the main deck, although the interesting thing I found with Mice, and I'm curious what you think about this, it's going way bigger now, and that seems to be a theme. We were talking about that with the Prowess deck, but the mouse deck now is like playing a bunch of Mabels in the 3-drop slot. They're going up to 4 mana for Whiskervale Forerunner to try to build more of like a mid-rangey, more value-y heavy kind of mice. Now that you don't have the like super fast kills with Heartfire Hero since that's banned, what do you think of the big mice deck? Like, are mice still going to be a legit part of the meta?
I have played against this deck a lot.
I haven't played against it hardly at all.
I think it's kind of bad.
Is it?
I don't know. I think it's kind of bad.
It looks clunky to me. It looks, just looking at it, I'm like, man, that looks like a deck that's trying to be aggro, but is playing a lot of 4-drops.
Yeah, like, and when you're playing 1 to 2 threats a turn, and most of them don't have haste outside of Emberheart Challenger, I don't really care all that much what you're doing, right? Like,
Yeah. You're just going to kill him anyway, yeah.
The one upside this deck has is that a majority of its targets don't get picked off by Starcage. Right? Like, a lot of it gets around Starcage. And so that is the one upside of going bigger, but like it just feels clunky, and every time I've played against it, it kind of doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
like I'm still at like 15 life, and I'm like, oh, maybe because I have this expectation of mice being able to like kill me by turn 3. This is like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know. This is definitely a decent build. Maybe it just needs to be fine-tuned a little bit more. But right now, this deck just doesn't feel solid. It's like a tier 2.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. It seems like it's a little bit too slow. It's definitely not the mice that were so incredibly scary before the bannings and before rotation. Like that version of mice, my God, was that a scary aggro deck? But this version, not nearly as frightening. So there's also a couple of decks that I'm curious about. These are, I would say, tier 2 decks at this point, but I'm curious because they got some new cards in them. And one of those is a Sephiroth deck. So we've seen Orzhov Aristocrats, Orzhov Sephiroth, whatever you want to call it, I think solidly find itself in tier 2 status right now. People are still kind of figuring out exactly how to build it. How all in are you on Raise the Past to reanimate all your stuff? Like Sir Vondam's another one of the new cards that I've seen a lot of different numbers from like 1 or 0 all the way up to 4. This deck is really taking advantage of Sephiroth in the big new edition, outside of Sir Vondam, which I think is a good new addition. But the biggest new one, Umbral Collar Zealot, the new uncommon sack outlet, the 2-mana 3/2, you can sack an artifact or creature to surveil 1. Do you think Aristocrats are legit now, Crim? Like, does the new sack outlet and the redundancy it gives, is that enough to make this a real deck?
It feels a lot smoother. Like, it plays way better because of the free sack outlet. And like, you get to also splash, like, 1 or 2 Barks if you really want additional free sack outlets, right? But the main thing here is it not being legendary was really nice, right? You can have the all the Umbral Collar Zealots you could ask for. I'm a fan of this archetype. How you build it is the question, because Sir Vondam is the only piece of interaction it really has.
Yeah,
right.
It's kind of a combo deck a lot of times.
Yeah, like it's just gonna try to combo off and win and not care about what you're doing. But I just feel like in the current year, you can't have that. It doesn't matter what deck you are, you got to have interaction, right? I will
say, I think out of all the decks, Aristocrats is one of the decks that can do that the most, just because you are really good at chump blocking with Infestation Sages and Nezumi Line Breakers and Nesting Bots. You get all these like 1-drops that sacrifice and make another token. You get wrecked by flyers. If your opponent plays something with flying or trampling, you're kind of out of luck. But for ground creatures, the deck can chump block pretty well. But you are right that it is pretty greedy.
Isn't that why you could just play like Sothera?
Oh,
like
yeah.
I've been liking Sothera just as a way to keep the board relatively clear.
I've seen one person play Sothera so far. I had no creatures on board. They were playing the Sephiroth deck. They just slammed it for 4 mana. It sacrificed on their end step, and then they scooped. So I know it's way better than that, but that was my one experience with it so far.
That is not how you're supposed to play
No, that is not how you're supposed to play the card.
I don't know. I think the deck needs a little more interaction, but
yeah,
I think the deck is interesting, right? And now with the free sack outlet, you can actually see Sephiroth flip, and way easier at least. And then more importantly, I feel like maybe it's not so much just like the Aristocrats deck. I feel like I've been able to build so many Orzhov decks.
Yeah.
This set, I have built 4 mono black decks that are all different, and then like about 3 to 4 different Orzhov decks. And I don't know if any of them are legit contenders, but have you tried playing any of the Tezzeret like package?
I have not played with new Tezzeret at all. Not a single Tezzeret cast so far. Is it good? How's it felt?
It's kind of been really fun in Orzhov, right? Like Orzhov, you're still doing Servandum. You've got the Cage, the 2-mana one. Then you play like, the thing that makes Toby the 4/4
Toby,
and the 1/1
Beastie Befriender or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, you go in Orzhov. Tezzeret has that one artifact that you can get for 1 mana that you could sack a permanent of yours, and then you get to exile anything. It's like a Seam Rip, but for anything.
Right,
And it has
Duskbro's Reliquary, yeah.
Duskbro's Reliquary, there it is. You have that, you could play with, there's a whole artifact package that's out there. You can, Market Back Walker has been an all-star in that department.
So, wait, is this something... This is something you built, right? I don't think I've seen this deck before. Okay, yeah, that sounds super sweet.
I've been playing with that and like the Tezzeret package, and it's been pretty solid in Orzhov because Servandum has been like, if there whatever the real package is, if there's an Orzhov deck, I think it has Servandum. Like Servandum is so good to me, and
I mean I think it is a solid card, yeah.
Yeah. That's so far what I've gotten from this. I don't know if Aristocrats is the truth. I don't know. Every deck still feels very not settled yet, right? Like it's still like being developed as we go. So I don't know. But what are your thoughts on the Aristocrats deck?
I think the Aristocrats deck, I think the biggest upgrade was actually the bannings, because it was so bad when you could just trample over all the random jump blockers. The deck was like unplayable. I think Umbro Collar Zealot really made the deck a ton better. And just like, not only the sacrificing, but the ability to surveil cards in the graveyard makes Raise the Past way better. It turns on that kill way more. I think the other interesting thing I've seen, and this is another aspect of the decks being unsettled, is you also have some cool, like, almost pseudo combo kills with like Timeline Color, the thing that warps for 1 mana and you can warp it from your graveyard, where people are setting up like loops where you warp it for 1 mana, sacrifice it, trigger Sephiroth, warp it again for 1 mana. Technically you're spending 2 life and only draining for 1, but if you're ahead on life enough, you can just kill people on the spot, do that for each of your mana and get a ton of triggers. So I think there's actually like a lot of potential here. My main concern for the deck is when it's all said and done, it is still kind of a graveyard deck. And if it ever gets too good, you can still kind of like bring in your ley lines and Rest in Pieces and really make the deck sad. So it's hard for me to imagine it ever being like the best deck in the format, but I think it can definitely be like a solid tier 2 deck.
Arguably, Leyline, Rip, and those things just hurt this deck even more than the typical graveyard deck, because the typical graveyard deck could like hard cast at some point. If you do nothing, they will just hard cast stuff. But this deck, it straight up takes your dying triggers. So you don't even
you
get
lose your
that.
Sephiroth triggers and your Vengeful Blood Witch triggers too. Yeah, like it just absolutely wrecks you. The last deck I want to ask you about, and then we got to wrap things up. The Landfall deck. So I know the deck's super popular. There's been a little innovation with the deck, though, and I'm not sure how much of this is like filtered into best of 1 or if it's just best of 3 stuff. But the version I'm seeing the most in best of 3 now is actually Teamer, where they're playing like World Soul's Rage as a 4 of to try to get a bunch of lands back at once for the combo kill. They're playing 4 Dragonback Assaults, usually in the sideboard, but like that's kind of their plan, is like, well, if my opponent's going to bring in all this removal to just kill all of my cheap landfall things, I'll just bring in Dragonback Assault and make a ton of dragons and eventually fight through your removal. What do you think of the new build of Landfall? And also, do people play that build in best of 1, or is that just a best of 3 thing? Is it still mostly like mono green in best of 1? I haven't played much best of 1 recently.
I've been playing both. So I've been playing best of 3 and best of 1. Just playing a lot of standard.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I've seen the Dragonback Assault deck, right? I've seen that pop up a lot. I also now understand that this is probably why Bristly Bill is $70 a copy.
Yeah, it's wild.
So, like, Bristly Bill is the most expensive card in the deck by a huge margin.
Mm-hmm.
So, I do think that this deck is interesting. I like the World Soul's Rage approach. Dragonback Assault.
So you're going a bit too deep.
They're cooking. They're cooking.
Yeah.
I think they're cooking, right? Like that's good. That's good. This is the time to cook, but it's not unheard of. Like, I guess, like, when I think of the deck, right? If I'm playing against it as a black-based control deck, I'm sitting there, or any control deck, I'm sitting there with a bunch of removal ready to answer a creature one at a time.
Yep.
Maybe fire off my sweepers a little more generously. Games 2 and 3, Dragonback Assaulting is, like, huge.
Yeah.
Because if I don't have an answer for this, I just have to, I'm going to lose to, like, some random, like, army of dragons. And
Yeah,
so,
sooner or
I don't
later.
know. But it's still 6 mana.
Yeah,
It's
that's
still
the part that gets me. It's like, I don't think of the landfall deck as being a deck to play expensive cards, but maybe that's changed
Yeah.
because you get like Ice Till Explorer now for extra land drops. If you're playing World Soul Rage, that can buy extra lands into play. So maybe it works with those cards, but still, when I was playing Landfall when it first came out, everything topped out at like 3 mana. Like Mossborn Hydra was like as expensive as I wanted a card in that deck. So it's definitely it seems like a very different take on it, where they're playing like 26 lands now and playing like all this expensive stuff. Do you think Landfall's a tier deck? Like, do you think it actually is going to find itself as like one of the best decks in the meta, or is it going to fade away?
I think in best of 1, yes. In best of 3, it's one of those decks that I just feel like, how much are you respecting Infect this week?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like, Infect randomly shows up, takes down tournaments. You know what I mean? So
And
if you don't respect it, you're going to lose. And one of the main things here is you're seeing this deck still evolving as well, because we're now seeing more overprotects. Because why? This is essentially it may not counter Nowhere to Run directly, but it kind of does, right? Just by pumping.
the pump does, yeah.
So, like, that alone now means that if you have a Nowhere to Run, you got to be playing that immediately. Don't do the greedy thing. Don't wait to see like what they do on their turn. I am going to remove whatever you have immediately. And so we're seeing this deck still evolve. And the idea that Ice Till Explorer is added into this deck is kind of wild, because I felt like 3 mana, as you had mentioned, was like the top of the curve. So
Yeah.
I'd like, as of right now, I don't know if Dragonback Assault is the route to go, but I do like this World Souls Rage. I do like the Ice Till Explorer package. I think this deck very much so could be real.
I think so too. And it might be, like you said, one of those decks that like it certainly has the power to come in and win a tournament any weekend. And it might be one of those decks, kind of like Infect or Dredge or whatever, where like if it does really well for a week or two, people are gonna be like, oh my god, I gotta be ready for the landfall deck. And then it's gonna do really poorly for a few weeks as people are like prepared, and then people will slowly forget about like how good it can be, and then it'll crop back up and wreck people again. So maybe it's one of those decks that kind of comes and goes with its top tier status.
Although Bristly Bill kind of makes it so that this isn't I'm just going to throw it together.
I remember Bristly Bill with Nadu spiked up to $30, and I was like, I can't imagine this card going any higher than that. There's no way. $30 is already a ton for this card, and now it's up to $70. It is $70. So
and Mossborn Hydra is like also expensive now, right?
Yeah, Mossborn is almost $20 a copy. It's actually, almost as much as Ice Till Explorer, which was getting so much hype from Edge of Eternities, but Mossborn Hydra almost as much now. Oh, anyway, I think those are all the decks we have time to get through today. Crim, any other last words before we wrap things up today?
Quick closing thought is that, mono, just hear me out, all right? And let me know in the comments what you think. Mono Black Tezzeret. All right, Mono Black Tezzeret, you play Last Ride, you hit yourself a ton. Tezzeret pairs nicely with Demon Wall, because that's an artifact. You give it a 1/1 counter. It swings on turn 3. Mono Black Tezzeret, you play 8 Bob. 8 Bobs, you play the 4 Caustic Broncos, the 4 Dark Confidants. I'm just saying, man, I think the deck is fun.
I'm gonna have to mess around more with Tezzeret. You have me convinced that I'm gonna, because I was like, it'll be good in older formats, but I'm gonna have to build some standard Tezzeret decks. Well, if I'm gonna get one last word, I'm kind of addicted to Kona and Planet Lands. I don't know if you've seen anyone doing that, but it's made Kona so much better to be able to like tap it to station and put something big into play. I got a deck with that coming out in a few days on the YouTube, but I've been having a ton of fun with that deck. But anyway, let us know in the comments. What do you think of this new standard format? What are you having fun with? Also, let us know what you think about the release schedule, how you were handling having 6 sets coming out each year, and just the speed of everything, which is different than before. But anyway, that brings brings us to the end of our podcast for this week. Crim, thanks for hanging out. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And we'll be back next week to talk about whatever goes on in the world of Magic. So until then, have an amazing week, everyone. And this is a crew signing out.